So the agenda of the workshop, the discussion, is that what happened over the three workshops, or is this tonight's activity?
This is just tonight.
Just tonight's, okay.
Yeah, and I'll
Thanks
explain.
for the warning.
Yeah. So we're just gonna go down the lines, and we'll do that
Okay.
momentarily.
For joining us.
Are you expecting something?
Wait till 6 if anybody is going to join us. All right. Well, it's Tuesday, August 30th, 6 p.m., starting our budget workshop. And with that, do a call to order. And with both.
Both first,
Yeah.
then he'll be on the list. Administer the oath to you. So you just repeat after me. I, Carl Kraus, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of the City Council, the City of Oracle, County of Homestead, State of Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. And then if you want to sign.
Take your picture of me
Sure.
and Sonny.
Oh. And this one too, because you get to keep one of them. There, I'll sign that. All right.
Thank you. Welcome, Carl. We'll take a roll call.
Mayor Eichhorst,
Chair.
Counselor Burke.
Here.
Counselor Richards,
Here.
Counselor Phillips,
Here.
Counselor Price.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. The workshop today is, looks like it's all right here in front of us. So you want to start, Sonny?
I will. I wanted to let you know what this is for tonight. And then the next one is going to be largely personnel matters. We may end up having a closed session as part of that. Because we want to do some performance review discussions at that point too. But then also discussion about specific funding for like the planning commission, some of those other commissions and groups that you have that maybe haven't been covered yet. And then the last one that's planned is a review of everything then that we will have developed and semi-agreed to, as well as a discussion kind of about your enterprise funds and your indebtedness that's gonna come into play too, because that also needs to get kind of has some impact on your preliminary budget and setting that level. So those, I know you had wanted to kind of know what's the game plan here, so.
So how many workshops are we talking?
3,
3?
this
Well,
one
we
and
have
2 more.
tonight and 2 more, and hopefully
final.
then the following week, we have the regular council meeting. That I'm hoping we would have, come to agreement, been able to, we'll be ready to adopt the preliminary budget and levy and get that submitted by September 30th without a special meeting, other than these workshops developing that.
So the workshops are September 7th, Wednesday, and September 14th
Yes.
at 6 p.m. And our council is on the 20th. Right? Must be,
Yes, isn't it?
yeah.
That council meeting, I will not be here because I'm traveling for work.
Oh. Available by Zoom or not?
Oh, yeah, I could.
You could Zoom. There you go. I'm keeping you all together here.
Yeah.
Well, that's the goal anyway. I think you need a lot of. Yeah, it is the 20th. So I appreciate you all agreeing to these workshops. Like I say, my normal practice is to start in June, and so then I'm just doing maybe like one a month rather than trying to do this all, but it stays fresh in your head, right? So tonight, we are covering everything from public safety all the way through the Orinoco Park. So thus, we have our illustrious Public Works Director here because he played a large role in developing the budget numbers for his department and related department items, and as well as I tasked him with the fire department and first responders because I hadn't had a chance to sit down with Dan. So I'll start with the public safety ones. Oh, let me just go a little bit over the layout of the sheet. You have all the chart of account numbers on the left. And then there's a blank column that we can make some notes if we want to make some adjustments. Otherwise, the next column is what's proposed by staff for the 2023 preliminary budget on the specific line items with subtotals by category. And then the next column is kind of a rationale or justification for where those numbers came from. Everything in blue came from Kane. And then you have, moving again to the right, you have the 2022 budget, 2022 actuals, which will go through most of August. And then I pulled out the budget numbers and just left you with actuals for the last preceding 4 years.
And is red significant in the highlights?
Well, those are kind of things that I pulled out and we did some checking on and stuff.
Okay.
And then also for ease of reference, the numbers are, the pages are numbered in the lower right-hand corner. But I also assigned line numbers in the very first column. So it, we can hopefully stay really connected. So the building inspections, for example,
I have one question. So the 2022 actual is through what?
August.
August, okay.
And that's why, for example, on building inspections, the preliminary budget number for 2023 is based on our 2022 actuals divided by 8 times 12, just to kind of give us a number there. And as you know, the building inspections, which I find odd falling into the public safety category, is a little bit odd to me, but the building inspections are all of the fees that are paid for any building official work. So that's where that 38, almost 38.5 comes from. The next one is police protection.
Sunny, can we go back one? I have a
Oh,
question.
sure.
Where do you usually see building inspection?
Well, it's usually just kind of a department by itself.
Okay.
Because then under that category, then you can have the breakdown like you do, like for fire department, you see fire department, and then you have the line items underneath that.
Mhm.
Building inspections, you could have building inspections, and then was it for new construction? Was it for rehab? Was it,
Is that
You
something
know,
we can change for this year?
yeah,
Yeah, I was looking at that too. If you look going back, 2020 wasn't very high. Is that just because of the COVID situation that was going on? Nothing was happening during that time?
I'm guessing that's. gonna
Because
be-
2019, 2018, I mean, 2018 was up at 31,000.
Right. And then you can always, if you want the budget numbers to go with that, you always have that 5-year comparison from last budget workshop too. So if that's, you want me to make a note to set that up separately? Is that something?
To me, it just would make sense to do it the proper way. So if you have a way that you think is better, I think that would make sense
Okay,
as we move forward and hand this off to somebody eventually.
happy to do that. I know we'll get into that too as we go through. There are some other changes that I'd like to see in your chart of accounts as well. The next department, police protection, you subcontract that out. And we pulled the agreement, and that is the number for 2023. And it's paid quarterly. So that presents kind of one of those follow-up items for next year that we know that contract's expiring. We'll want to, be ahead of that there too. Then I'm gonna turn it over to Kane. If you need me to step in, because I plugged a number in.
Sure.
But otherwise, the rationale is pretty clear.
Yeah, the first change I put on there, you'll see on line 109 turnout gear. We purchased 5 sets this year. We have 10 new sets to go. I put all 10 sets on there, knowing that we could potentially trim, maybe do 5 2023 and 5 in 2024, but I did put all 10 on there as a discussion point.
Have we paid for those?
So we've been fitted. There was 5 members that were fitted because their gear ultimately is expired. With turnout gear, there's a life expectancy, so we've been fitted, but I don't think we've paid out yet. It was approved at the last 2 council meetings ago, I believe.
So that
Right.
$1,800 doesn't include the 5. It's
1836.
And there was something said at the meeting too, in terms of things being up to date, that we would probably get dinged on an inspection.
Correct.
If they they looked at our current equipment, because as I'm understanding it in the meeting, was their equipment is not up to date, and they could get cited for equipment being out of date.
How long does the sets last when you say that?
10 years,
10 years, so
10 years, yep.
been 10 years since we bought those. Okay, wow.
And so when we had the 2010 flood, everyone's gear was contaminated, and then I believe it was FEMA stepped in and purchased new gear for all the members. And so now we hit that 10-year mark now. And so we did 5 this year. Go ahead.
So the next 10 are expiring next year then, or
Yep.
have expired?
Yep, they have expired,
Have
so
expired, okay, so we
so-
need them.
we do need them. Like I said, I put all 10 on there as a discussion point. I wouldn't be opposed to doing 5 next year and 5 the following, but there is that
Yeah,
issue
so,
Jim brought up.
so what, do we know what we would get tagged if there was an inspection? Is it worth?
I think, well, you can look at it one of two ways, getting tagged by OSHA or whatever authority that is, or you could look at it like somebody gets burnt or hurt because they
Yeah,
got
that's
gear
even bigger.
that's,
Yeah, that'd be
that's,
bigger.
you know, so. You know, gears has gone up over the years, about 2,500 per firefighter, and all the new firefighters coming on are getting gear purchased through the state because they're new firefighters. But anyone who is an existing firefighter does not qualify for that, so.
So is there when you say it's fitted, it's individual,
Yeah.
each individual,
Yep,
and so how often, so like they're completely useless once that person is no longer on that?
well. You know, that's, if you can fit into them, we'll make it work, but if you're swimming in the gear, obviously you need to get fitted and
Or if it's too tight, you can't.
too tight, yeah, you need to
Right.
get,
Okay.
So what I'm hearing, if it works, if it meets safety standards in
It's
terms
within
of
that-
size and movement and within a margin,
yep,
you guys will make it.
Then if you have a new person that's coming on, the state's gonna help out with that gear too. So if we have a new person, that might be able to do it that way state-wise.
yep. So this is for the 10 existing members whose gear is out of date.
So let's leave it in there for now.
Can always trim later. The next one you see is training. We've got a new training officer, Johan Sonnenberg, and he's requesting some additional funds for training and also to attend the FDIC 2023. He'd like to take a couple members every year and go to that training. That's in Indianapolis. A good training for anyone in the fire service, but definitely it's double. He asked to double his training budget. I put that in there.
Have we gone sometime without a training instructor?
In the past, it's been kind of handled in-house with Dan and myself, and now we actually have a dedicated person for that and
Has that trainer been trained, commercially trained, or did they learn on the job too?
I believe it's more on the job training and then some specialized training, kind of train the trainer.
Yeah.
Exercises and but we've got someone dedicated to that appointment now and that's helping a lot.
To me, I personally
Okay.
think getting the trainer trained so they can bring it back.
Definitely, and that training line item, that's for Riverland to come to Orinoco, that's for us to go to Riverland, that's for there's multiple trainings throughout the state, throughout the year. So I know there's been talk of purchasing a shipping container, creating our own burn center where we can have live burns and monthly training there. So that could also be part of that training fund, purchasing that container.
Do you know why we are so over budget for 22 already?
So if you look down at line item 119 R&M buildings,
Mhm.
there's maybe Sunny can talk about this. There's 51,000 in the repair and maintenance buildings.
And that's we know that to be miscoded. So that'll be pulled out
Sure.
of there. What's that?
Like a journal entry type.
Yep.
Corrected.
Yeah.
So you think that something is off with the training 111 too? I'm
No,
saying,
I think that's what she was referring to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were talking about over budget on the training.
right,
line
so
item.
we're 7,200 already for 2022, we budgeted 45.
Right. And I believe that to be reimbursable. Some of that training we have with Riverland and some of the other trainings we've done, we will get reimbursed through the training funds from the state.
Some of those, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those expenses come from him coming in mid-year where we really hadn't budgeted because he picked up tents and different equipment for training, so.
Correct,
Yeah,
yep,
we weren't aware of it in the budget that we put together last year.
yep. Last year's budget did not include having a training officer and so yeah, that 7,200 reflects that, but some of that is reimbursable through the state.
So how do we in the office know that that's going to be reimbursable to us?
Good question.
I usually just submit all of it and then they'll reimburse what they want or what they can.
Oh, so you do that,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, and just,
Okay.
I'm just curious as to, going over budget, if that's something that's, how do we solve that from happening without our knowledge?
Or is there a way that we can find out? Okay, so we look at it and we budget having an idea. Cause are we budgeting the full amount or do we budget saying, okay, I know we've got 5 people that are going to be trained and 40% of that is gonna be reimbursed. Do we know thumb to the wind guess? A wag is-
I don't know. I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I know every year the state has training funds available. And if nobody requests reimbursement statewide, that number stays large.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of, I believe it's first come, first served.
So that's maybe, okay, a couple of things come to mind. One is, Kane and I spent a good deal of time yesterday kind of talking about budgets and that sort of thing. And I've tasked him with developing his budget because I'd expect him to be responsible for his budget and having that authority. Because you can't hold, in my view, you can't hold someone accountable without also giving them the authority to monitor and manage it. So one, that's a delegation item and a leadership role that Kane's stepping into, and to the extent that I can help him, I will do that. The other piece is giving you as council members the financial information where you are seeing on a regular basis, monthly, kind of what's happening for the prior month, what's happening year to date, and keeping in mind what your budget was, how that comparison is working. And as far as what, we should be able to also give you information on what items we've billed out. Cause you're seeing all the expenditures kind of thing. It's, in my view, also important for you to see kind of what's gonna be coming in. And whether it's large or small, you still have that same fiduciary responsibility, right? So giving you the information that you need to have is gonna be important. And like I say, I didn't even know about that, but it's good to know that you're handling that. But it's also a piece then that's new to me, that's a task that you're taking on for the fire department, right? And we'll get to this when we get down to insurances and stuff, down to the general maintenance stuff, but. So hopefully we're starting to get some things in place where it's being monitored at the departmental level. And then also at the administrative level, and then also sharing that with council.
Sure help. Because otherwise, it's all been just kind of a cluster.
Yeah.
As you found out, I think.
And just want to, we have talked about getting approvals for the fire department to do certain actions too. And in some cases, we're a month behind finding out that something has been approved. And we've had those discussions in previous council meetings too, so we asked the fire department to be a little more proactive in getting it in front of the council for approval before just accepting the bills.
I agree.
Enough said.
Well, on that, is there a threshold that you're asking for?
I think there's a threshold right now for the fire department.
There is
So,
I think it's
$500.
$500, it's over that.
But I'm wondering, is there a threshold that we set from it going on the consent agenda versus coming here? You know, if there's questions.
Exactly, yeah, so that last consent agenda, the 5 sets of turnout gear were approved. There wasn't any discussion about that.
And that should almost have been brought up as an individual case instead of being as just a consent agenda item if it's over and above.
I don't know how it gets on the consent agenda, or I don't know what makes it criteria for consent or.
That's part of setting the agenda.
I make that determination based on the subject matter.
Okay.
If it's something that I feel needs specific action by the council, then it's gonna get there. Otherwise, it's just noted as an FYI or you know, just a non-action item.
And at the last meeting, we pulled something off the consent agenda to discuss too. I remember, so that was a separate discussion. So there is a way to break off
Pull
the
it off.
consent agenda
Yeah.
too, so.
I guess when we're approving it. That's kind of when we do it, I guess, now that I think
Right.
about it.
It's the responsibility of the council members to be aware of the packet, and what's in the agenda, and bring those things out of the consent agenda too, so.
Yeah, because those kind of actions, adjusting the agenda in any way, are part of that approving the agenda as is or as amended to include pulling something out of consent or adding something to, so that's typically done early on.
I just don't want the fire department to think that we don't want them talking at the council or presenting something if they need to present or want to present.
And I've said that to them too.
Dan,
Well, remember when I came to that one meeting over there and they were like, what are you doing here kind of thing? And I said, when are you gonna come to the council meeting? And they said, we were told we couldn't come. So I don't want that to be the case. If we need to, we could, showcase one.
It's
department.
unfortunate that that's how it was taken, but we don't need the rundown of each individual run, that's what we were getting.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what we didn't need.
Okay.
That's not something. we
it's a
need.
waste of their time just to
Yeah.
go over all that and our time too.
100%. And so
But the rest,
that's what we put on the, but of
Okay.
course, if there's a need, they should be here.
Okay.
That's an unfortunate miscommunication, but.
So if you can relay that, I'll task you with another item for.
And I
do
mentioned,
you want me to relay that to Dan?
Yeah, if they're asking as counselors that they want proactivity from the fire department. so that things are getting, you know, like, I'm gonna say like the fire truck. You wanted to sell the fire truck. That's a city asset. It was appropriate for it to come to council and be approved for sale before that happened. So, that, if I remember right, that didn't happen, but we did the resolution afterwards to acknowledge that it had happened and received the funds.
And maybe it needs to come from Counselor Sunny or Renee to Dan to say that that was never the intent. The intent was not to have you never show up. You were not unwelcome.
Well, and I mentioned at the last meeting that, you know, they definitely can come if there's something that they want on the agenda and be able
Yeah.
to speak, that they definitely have that ability.
Well, and it needs to be, it's like the iPad, we had nobody here to talk about it. We're not going to approve anything we don't know about. So that, you know, of course, we're not going to have.
You all can come and sit in on a council meeting.
I tell you what, if there were snacks here, they'd all be here, right?
It's a nice.
I
Well,
can,
that was training, right?
yeah, that was training. The next one I put on here is the telephone expense, and that goes in with the iPads, the cellular plan for the iPads.
115.
Line
Oh, there I see it.
115, yeah. I know there'll be a monthly expense with having a data plan per iPad. So I included that for next year. That'll be a monthly cost associated with that if we decide to go down that road.
And that's the other question. We got no information about it, and I think you weren't at that last meeting. So we
Yeah,
have no idea what they'll be used for.
I called Sonny.
Oh, you did,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, because we talked about it at the meeting.
okay.
So 2 iPads, 3 mounts, so that one can go back and forth between a couple
Yeah.
of.
And just, I'll put more content around that we talked
Yeah.
about was, and Kane, jump in anytime you want. So the idea behind the iPad is, because right now they're like this, looking at a map and driving. To find out where they're going, and that's a big safety concern that was brought up. And the other thing, you know, obviously, there's other things you can do for tracking. So if you need to know, you know, if we could even put these, you know, very inexpensive chips on a key fob on the vehicles, so they could look right at their iPad and know where's the water truck, you know, where's this engine, where's that engine, and understand, you know, who's where.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of other things in talking with
Definitely.
Johan,
Definitely.
that they would like to do that are free.
Yeah, electronic record keeping when we're with patient care and
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing.
and then the countywide app that we all use, the whole county uses. It's I Am Responding app, so you get paged through that, you respond through that, you can communicate with mutual aid through that, so having that at your fingertips would be very beneficial.
Yeah, especially with the mount right there, and it's good size so they can see it. And, you know, they're escalating situations that they have to try to focus on.
So is that software tied into the emergency management system too?
No, I don't believe so. That I Am Responding is just how the county communicates with everyone in the county, so.
Okay.
And then the next three you see there is just electricity, heating, gas, oil, miscellaneous. I am surprised by fuel prices this year, and I don't know what utility prices are how they will turn out to be. So I threw a 10% increase in there, and you'll see that throughout the budget on some of Public Works items as well. And I wish I had
You
crystal ball.
think the 10% is enough off of that, or?
This is a discussion point. I'm throwing something at the wall and I hope you guys can keep it up there and put
Yeah, I
something
mean,
else.
could it be better to go a little bit higher in that on our first budget go around off of that instead of doing it at 10? Maybe put 20% in there.
Let me, I'm wondering why. Okay, well, that's, if we do the. Take the actual. My my go-to cheat thing, so. 2,734.
She's doing that. So are there things that we can do at the fire building, at the fire hall to reduce electricity, heat?
So,
turn the
yeah.
Temperatures down 2 more degrees or?
Yep, definitely. We can do that citywide. All of our buildings can be set up that way, programmable thermostats, electricity, pretty minimal at the fire hall unless it's gold rush, fridges and freezers are running. But for the most part, got 3 furnaces and some lights. And of course, we're charging all the trucks 24/7. And then of course, it's not really staffed 24/7. It's just kind of a storage building and for meetings, so.
So even dropping the temp could potentially lower the electrical cost and the heating cost, right?
For sure.
Well, but I'm also on the heating, looking at what's actually been spent. You know, you budgeted 2,500 and for some reason it's,
We're at
Oh, you know,
31.67.
yeah.
We didn't have a terrible winter.
well, and I'm wondering, heating. I don't know, cause if you look at then the actuals going back,
Yeah, that's odd.
unless,
But your price is going up steady,
Yeah,
steady.
it's
Should we
jumped.
put the
like that.
kitchen into separate heating and
The kitchen is on separate cooling.
cooling?
There's cooling available in the kitchen. And then in the winter time, we will diffuse the heating throughout the building and the kitchen.
No, I'm just looking at the way the prices of everybody's been going up at that. I'm just concerned with that 10% not being realistic for this next year.
Well, and I'm looking at the electricity, and if I take, the 22 actuals to date, divide that by 8 times 12, that's 4,101, call it 4,102. So I think, we're still under the 45 that we budgeted for this year. So if you do an increase of 10% on top of that,
we're gonna get close.
There you go.
theoretically, you're gonna get
Theoretically.
close.
No, I was just looking at it, because this is the first go around and we can't increase
Yeah, we
that.
can't change it.
So if we go a little bit higher off of this, we can still come back off. As cost savings as we're trying to adjust with it, but this would at least put it inside there. Cause I just think it's gonna be higher than a 10% increase. I'd like to have it that way for my budget,
Yeah.
being just 10% is not gonna be. I think it's gonna be closer to a 40% increase.
I'm looking at line 122 and seeing that I made an entry error there. Cause I say that the budget is 8,500, same as 2022, but 2022 was 5,500, so. There's 3K there.
So do you want those 3 from 10 to 15 or 20? Keep the
I
discussion
think,
going here.
just at least have that amount in there and then we can come off of it.
Yeah, let's go plus 20 for now.
For those utilities you're talking?
For those 3, For the next item, the buildings, we put in the doors, that was in 2021.
We added some interior doors this year, 2022. Last year, I believe we added like an overhead door, a roll-up door.
For the kitchen.
14,000.
Correct.
And line 122 should say 55 instead of 85, is that right, Sonny? Is that what you're
Line
saying?
122, yes.
Should be 5,500. Okay.
Just so you know, on that red 51.6, if that's pulled out, yeah, a 51,193 is,
Which one, Sonny?
The 51.
yeah, line 119, repair and maintenance. What's showing is 51,690.70. Of that, the known miscoding regarding CH Robinson is in the amount of 51,193. So you see, there's not truly very much spent in that category for repair and maintenance, although you have recently done some stuff, right?
Correct. We did some interior doors and some painting and some upkeep inside the building.
Probably $1,000,
Shoot from the hip, 1,000, 1,500, yeah.
500 plus.
You know, and what doesn't get shown there is your staff's time.
Correct.
So that's just getting lost somewhere else, and just so you know.
Well, staff, and they don't get paid.
Yeah,
You said staff time.
they're getting paid, but it's not showing up as an expense to the fire department.
Right.
It's showing up.
You're talking, your city staff get paid, that's who's working on it,
Right.
not volunteers at the
Correct.
fire department. Yeah,
Shop salaries.
We're working on that. We'll get to that.
That might be the next meeting, right? Personnel.
Personnel
Yeah.
stuff.
I can keep trucking along here if you guys are okay with that. If we go down to first responders, I added the cellular plan for an iPad. $100 per iPad per month, that's $1,200. Electricity, I put 10% in increase. You know, the fire and first responders share a portion of the utilities over there. So I think if you increased it to 20% for the fire, I'd follow suit and do that with the first responders.
It'll be fair.
Yeah. Next page, page 2. Starting off with the 10% increases in utilities. And then the rest of the first responder budget is the same. Historically, the first responders do not use up their budget. If you look at years past, half less, yeah.
Is some of that miscellaneous in there? Do you know what that would be, or is it not able to be classified?
You know, I don't know what those expenses were in 2022. I can't,
$2,008.
the $2,008, I don't know that, I don't know.
It looks like a new line item that was put in last year. Because in prior years, 21, 20, you didn't have anything in there for miscellaneous. It's like,
Oh, so
Okay.
let's just create a miscellaneous.
I think if we could do away with that,
In,
You know
in
what,
my
Miss-
view, miscellaneous is always a very last resort and you better be able to respond to it.
Yeah, do we know
Right.
what gets thrown in there?
I couldn't tell you, Jim,
it's 1,500
T-shirts.
over, 1,500 over budget is concerning
right,
with, and unaccounted for on over budget.
so yeah, when you look at the actual, the total for the first responders was 4,700 and the budget was 3,266.
There's 4 months left, but it's not gonna
Which
make
is,
up that.
which is,
Right,
which is fine, and it's great that they're total under budget, but there, that still needs to be accounted for.
right, I hear you.
1,500, I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but $1,500 unaccounted for isn't acceptable.
Right.
I wonder if that could potentially be an error? I don't know. Would
Well, it
the,
wouldn't be the
Remember
first one,
sweatshirt?
probably, right?
Let's have somebody look into that.
For weren't they by
Rather
other.
than trying to guess what it is.
Yeah.
You had that last time.
Okay, let's move on.
Maybe you're in the council.
For sweatshirts and shirts.
Yeah,
It could very easily be, I didn't.
Anything emergency operations?
You know, I don't think there's anything there. Pat hasn't, requested anything or brought up anything. Just so you guys are aware that transfer switch repair, that 12,500 is coming up and when I did bring it to the council, we talked about splitting it up between EOC, fire and first responders. And so that could possibly be this fall, 2022. It could also be 2023, the way if we can get that or not, so. Heads up,
You don't have a timeline when
they don't have a timeline. Hunt Electric, the contractor doesn't have a timeline yet, so. I'd like to think it would be done this fall. I'd hope for that, but it could be 2023 and funds could come out of next year's
is
budget.
it just because of hunts? Or is there
I think it's
other-
just product availability.
Oh, okay.
Missing a chip.
Oh, yeah.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, I
Or
can,
Jump to public works, animal controls, 200 would be,
as you can see, we've never spent that for the past, since 2018. I'm not familiar with animal control or how we use them. Usually it's,
usually the sheriff writing up fights and that type of thing, but we don't really, people take dogs to the, it's not a rehab, but it's, shelters or whatever it is. City doesn't move any
No.
animals or anything, so.
no. So maybe that's, maybe that's something we could take off this list.
I won't-
I wonder if it was for, we stopped doing licensing, but in the past, we had to buy tags and blah, 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 so I wonder if that $200 was just,
Sure, it could be.
but we cut out licensing, and so,
when did you
We buy
cut
those
that out?
tags that last for,
well, no, yeah, now we can
Years.
just talk, because we're not doing it anymore. We're not requiring it.
I would say remove it if,
take it off.
Well,
no.
Let's see.
unless we're gonna have chicken license.
Oh, that would be.
But that's more
That'd
of
be
a,
revenue.
but that's more of a, just a fee, like a permit almost,
Right.
right? So there isn't like a physical tag that you
Right.
have to put on the chicken.
So
like with the
are we
dog.
just, yeah, with a picture and ID. So do we just give them a certificate then?
I haven't given one
Chicken
out,
or-
but yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you have nothing to do with the best, I know, it's just chicken.
Mm.
Okay, we digress, sorry.
Yeah.
See, our budget workshops fun. Don't fear them. Okay,
So we're gonna take out 157 then, is that what we're gonna do?
I think so.
Okay. And remember, at this point, it's not formal action,
Mhm.
but it's discussion that will provide the framework for when the final
Yeah.
preliminary one is before you. So, yep.
The,
Excellent.
the next, department, 4300 Public Works, waste collection. I don't, kinda like the animal control, I don't understand that whole. 160 to 164, I'm not aware of what that's for. That'd be one more I would suggest removing.
Well, in 2020, there was $30, so what's that about?
I don't know.
It's not hazardous waste collection, is it? We don't pay, the county comes and does that on its own.
Correct.
I'd say remove it.
One 63.
Yeah, 160 to 160.
I can keep moving forward here.
We had $1,000 and we used 500 though.
Oh, no, which one?
Or you looking at that one?
Yeah, I had on my, from last year, I had that 42,230 waste collection, I had $1,000 actual in 2020. Not sure what that was for.
We had 30.
Yeah, we got 30.
The $1,000 was probably budget numbers.
But I had it as actual.
Oh,
If $30 is actual,
right.
$1,000.
Yeah. It looks like you budgeted, for 2018, 2019, 2022, $1,000. And over those same 3 years spent 30.
Mhm.
And then in the last 2 years, you budgeted 500
Right.
and spent nothing.
It's not really
Okay, that's
Are
dumb.
you looking at
Yeah.
budget workshop from last year? Yeah, is that what you had? It showed.
No, this is from the budget, when I put the budget together for 2021.
Oh,
It makes me wonder,
But
like,
it's-
from the flood in
I don't
20,
have the 30 on there.
I mean, did we have to do something special for waste collection then? And that's how it got added?
So if there's something that we need to get rid of waste wise, I think you just pay it out of whatever.
Okay.
You don't need a special.
All right.
I'll check.
I don't know what to use it for,
I can't think of anything.
other than scrap or something, but she should have been, should have been a revenue, not an expenditure.
Right.
Okay.
Next department, 43001, ice and snow removal. I know, you guys the city contracts that out, that service. I added, just because of the fuel cost and the cost of material, sand. I know this year with the price of diesel being high, rock, sand, material, blacktop, concrete, it's all gone up substantially, so. I added some there, I know you guys probably have, the totals, you can see the totals from the previous years there.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2019 and so that was quite an increase off of that. From 2018, so is that just the severity of the winter that you're looking at? So you really don't know, I mean, if you added just a little bit, is that enough to add to it? Or should we, maybe add a little bit more? And then come off of it, but we've got to be on the safe side for what we're putting in there for the end of this month, so. I'd almost kick that up a little bit more with the fuel costs.
Yeah, we sure could.
This line 167. Kane, subcontracted services, is that, what is that? Because I'm guessing your ice and snow removal and the sanding, those are kind of contracted as well, right?
Yep, they're the same. They're contracted through one contractor. The subcontracted would be, I guess if there was an additional contractor needed, somebody with a motor grader, somebody with equipment that our contractor, our snow removal contractor wouldn't have. I think that,
Support that contract.
and maybe we need the Olmsted County to do
That's
something.
what I was thinking.
You know, we were
Is
talking
that-
about that hourly rate for,
Yeah.
I think that would come into play there as well.
Hey,
And we voted on that here in the last couple of meetings to Homestead County
Correct.
hourly rates for equipment.
I know,
And Kane, I'm sorry, Kane and I talked about developing those for the city too, for him and his guys and his equipment. You know, if somebody has a violation and we need to go trim their trees because they've got the tools and they've got so yeah, our ordinance allows for us to charge them back, but really what should we be charging? We should have some documentation that's gonna provide that rationale behind it.
And that's what Sunny and I are gonna work on in weeks, months to come, future.
And that's like, we can put into the fee schedule then at
Yep.
in January.
Yep.
I'd start with the county fee schedule as a starting point.
Yeah, very similar, very similar structure.
then you can justify it by saying this is what the county charges, and so, you know, that makes it easier. So, I mean, on 168, you wanna kick that one up to, let's say, instead of 34, kick it up to something like 40?
Yeah, but look back over the other years, it's been way high. Well, that year, you lived in California. We had a payloader out, but that didn't cost nothing. I donated that. But the snow was so deep, I mean, you couldn't get through. I mean, you ain't gonna have one like that very often. I mean, look, the rest of it, you've been way over on, you know.
Well, I'm just looking at the difference on fuel costs and that's coming up this year, that's totally different than we've had in years past. You know, and so that's what I was kind of looking at that, just to be on the safe side, because we can come off of it. You know, this is just a preliminary budget that we need to get through for September, that we've got this submitted. You know, and we can say, okay, we don't need that much, and we can bring it back down again.
So just for reference, unless I missed it, the snow removal and sanding all comes under Ockman's contract.
Correct.
And that's for, is it 21 and 22, so we're going out for new contracts, or is it include 22, 23?
We just did that
Yeah.
early
Next year.
2022, so I think that was a 2 or a 3 year.
Yeah,
They're 2-year contracts.
Okay.
I think we just proved it.
So we already have the contract for 2022, 2023 winter.
And
That's
what-
these numbers here, 47,000 together. I don't have a copy of the contract here.
I don't think I found one either, so we'll have to.
Well,
What was the
that's
name of
not-
the firm?
Ockman Excavating, he's here in town,
No, Oxman.
OTT.
Ott.
MAN,
Okay.
I didn't.
But you don't wanna look at the contract, and just about everybody, what writes a contract like that's got clauses in there of increases of gas or increases of product, or,
Yeah.
you know.
So are you thinking perhaps more along the lines of our worst year? What was that?
Yeah, I mean,
29?
that's just just to be on the safe side, okay, because if you look at that, you were, and that's in 19. So if we do the 43 and 23, whatever comes out to be 71, 797. You know, so that's another 20,000 up, but it would give us that cushion in case we had a bad winter. And the increased fuel costs and sand costs.
Well, the contract now says it's 47,000 for 2022-2023.
That's what we budgeted.
So we didn't budget that based on what the contract was,
We based that on years previous.
that we're paying him.
An hourly rate per piece of equipment, per ton of sand and salt, so you could have a doozy of a winter.
So we're not saying we're
We're
gonna
not
pay you 47,000 and whatever it is, it
No,
is.
we'll pay for it as used, but
Okay.
As used, correct?
He's guaranteed so much a month,
Hmm.
and then he's had to use that many hours up, then he starts building more.
I think, let's, for budgeting for this first go around, let's put in, the 43 and 23. And go back to the numbers that there are in 2019.
Other discussion? Is the contract based on 2 inches of snow?
Don't quote me there, but it's something like that, if it's snowing or if it's an inch or. Don't quote me there, there's so many different languages out there.
I'd be more comfortable meeting somewhere in the middle between 43 and 34. 40.
You wanna do 40?
I was just gonna say, I would be
Let's,
comfortable, more
then let's
comfortable
do,
with 40.
let's do 40, 40 and 20.
43,
40 and 20.
yeah.
Good discussion.
You're talking too bad a winter.
The next one, street lighting,
Coming down there.
Sunny's put in her calculation there, so that is an increase from 2022 budget. Moving on, street maintenance. Same as prior. I'll let Sunny take over the yellow one there, line 180.
Well, just as I was reading this, okay, future roads and maintenance, so like you're maintaining future roads that haven't been built, it kind of like didn't make sense to me. But it cost you $40,000 to do that, it was
Where we at? Which
Right here.
So 180, line 180.
Okay.
180, so
So the future roads is we do seal coating every other year. And so
on a
we,
future road,
well, it's more like future maintenance. Or scheduled maintenance, if you wanna call it a better title. The
Oh.
future maintenance is, I agree, it's a bad title.
well, cause then down below you have street maintenance. And that's
Right.
where,
Seal coating.
yeah, on one, so we're talking 180 and 182.
So street maintenance, sometimes we do crack sealing. We do that sometimes every year. But in the case of seal coating, which is more expensive, we do that every other year.
Correct. And we did not seal coat in 2022, but we did in 2021. And so in 2021,
Plan.
we budgeted 75,000 for a seal coat project. And
So you're right, and that 75,000 is in our CIP, capital improvement projects under Public Works.
gotcha.
So that question is just 40,000 figure. What else with that?
So there's the 40,000 there plus 30,000, almost 31. I'm seeing a lot of AAA striping.
That was part of the seal coat project.
Tapco, Pearson Brothers, Tapco,
Pearson was the seal coat contractor.
what's SI contracting?
SL,
Oh, okay.
Striping.
they did some crack sealing
Crack sealing.
for Pearson.
Okay, so that's more the really maintenance kind of stuff as opposed to project-based
Capital
Or
improvements. Like
capital
seal coats.
improvements for for those future roads. I'm sorry. that's
But
drug
would we
use.
put something for future roads though?
Well, that,
Because future roads to me mean new roads, and that would hit the budget next year for maintenance on those, because they should be new, right? We shouldn't have to seal coat or,
You still have
Right, Bill.
existing, is still out there, not.
yeah,
in-
no, I'm with existing, but not
But
budgeting
it-
for the future, for this coming year. Next year, we budget for what was the
So,
future, what new ones did we do this year?
so I look at it at 2019, 2021. So you're hitting every other year that there is for a larger
Mhm.
amount that's coming in, which is what you were saying, Ryland, for every other year.
Right, in line 182, you see a 75,000. And that's not really meant, seal coating is not really meant to be a budget item as opposed to the continuous improvement project, CIP.
So,
But I'm just saying, so next coming up, we're gonna have a heavy year this coming year. Even though you're putting new stuff down, it's gonna be there, but I still have a lot of existing that's gonna have to have that seal coat, so.
Right.
Well, like street maintenance. Unless it's someplace else, it should be like street sweeping. We sweep the streets for sand in the springtime. It's probably the only street maintenance.
So how come there's a negative, 5,592 on actual? Is that a entry?
In
That could have been,
for this year,
Yeah, 182.
yeah.
that could have been crack sealing back in 2021.
Did we get money back?
Without
or
getting
something?
the accounts here in front of us or. Sonny can share with us, but to me, the 75,000 should go into the CIP and not in a budget item.
right,
Right, we budgeted, yes, I screwed up there, I put that in the wrong place.
okay,
It
so,
should be under where? Wait, what number?
Well, we don't have it on our sheets, but it's the capital improvement projects and our. I don't think it's on here.
actually, it's page 5 is the wish list for capital improvement items.
can we just start at the top of this street maintenance situation at 178 and go down?
Sure.
And can we just talk about what is subcontracted services? Why in 2020 did we pay somebody $14,781? $12,000 more than we usually do. Anybody? Oh,
Jane,
I was not here at the time, I
Ryland,
not know.
Which line?
we're looking at,
178.
178, 14,781.
2020.
Isn't,
Yeah.
And I could, at least the records I have, I go back and try and find for them down here tonight unless.
I
Something
just wanna
happens.
clean it, this is like something we need to clean up, this is a disaster. Capital outlay, nothing's there. Future, I think, future roads, I think why, I agree with Sunny, why, that should just be street maintenance, that should just be the name of it. And what is with the $40,000? Is that just an entry thing possibly?
For actual expenditures, you have that account. I had Renee, pull that,
It just doesn't
and it
seem,
was
yeah,
to Pearson.
Pearson, what's that?
That was the seal coat company.
At the 40,000?
So did we,
So what's the 30,000?
Yeah.
That was all that striping and,
Wow.
Yeah, that's high price.
SL contracting.
That'd be the
Or
crack
something,
filling
yeah.
and the
Striping. and
striping of the roads,
Okay.
and then the 40,000's Pearson, so that's 70,000.
70,000.
Wow.
Oh, that striping is terrible.
So,
Cause it's gotta have that like blow stuff on it now.
is this just entered in a different place that it's not showing up? I mean, why, like, did this get entered instead of in the CIP like you were saying?
Yeah, cause were they
It got
maybe
expense
combined
rather than-
It got-
because it's 70,000? You know, cause to me, both that 30,000 and the 40,000 are, well, I think both those line items to me seem to be
And those
street
could be
maintenance,
But they
right?
should both
journal
be,
entry possibilities too,
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
so they should both be in street maintenance. Can we just get rid of this future road maintenance, capital outlay? Can we get rid of that?
I'd say yes.
Yeah, cause to me, future road maintenance is road maintenance,
Right.
you know?
It's, yeah, street maintenance.
Well, street maintenance is maintenance that's not, its exception is seal coating, everything but seal coating.
And why is that? It looks to me like in the past,
Because I
coming
think
in at
it's-
$63,000 in 2019, that was probably also seal coating. Unless we paid $63,000
because
just for
It'd be every
striping and
other
filling
year.
cracks.
No, the 40,000 was seal coating.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but when I'm saying that this also was probably included seal coating here.
I think Dana's got a
It
point
was,
on
it
that.
didn't, it wasn't from capital, or, from capital
CIP,
improvement, yeah. And that does seem to me where it should come out of. I don't know, maybe not, maybe CIP
Well, I
is
think
where it
you're
should.
you know,
Yeah.
it just got lumped. I think you're right on that, Dana.
But let me ask, on this, on the seal coating, don't we seal coat every year? Cause some areas don't get it one year. And, you know, is it flip flop that way, or do we say, okay, is it every other year
Every other year.
is a seal coat year?
Yep.
Okay,
Odd
Joe
years.
has a plan
Yep.
of 6 different areas in town, and we rotate over a period of time that all these get seal coated over a 10-year period.
so it's all, everything is seal coated the same year, no matter what.
No, it depends
No.
upon which part of the,
Section by
Uh,
section,
No,
five,
that's what I
right.
mean.
over a period of
Yeah.
time, they all get seal coated, it's rotation.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, the counting back in 2019, that maybe there was supposed to be a CIP, but it was put into the street maintenance. There may have been, without looking at the details, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
The intent of seal
will-
coating is a capital improvement project. It's not an annual, we don't do it every year.
Okay, so
We don't do
that's-
striping every year.
Correct.
So it's really a capital improvement like, the park trail.
So both of
We do that
those,
as improvement on the.
so both of those striping and seal coating should really be in CIP and not here at all. And street maintenance should be more like potholes and
Correct.
crack filling.
Stop signs.
As needed.
Slow speed limit signs.
And this is where I said before, definitions behind these would be really helpful. So that we know, so we're not having to do this again next year.
so one question I have, the CIP dollars, do we get CIP dollars from the state every year?
It's not state, it's our funds.
You don't get
It's our,
anything from
okay.
the state.
Did we get some CIP
That's like
money
building,
during
that's like
COVID?
building your reserves is really where CIP funding comes from.
I thought we got something during the COVID.
LGA, we got,
Or is that what it was? Okay,
Well, you get
CARES
LGA,
funds.
but that was.
but
ARPA
it's a one
funds.
shot.
I think he's thinking of ARPA funds.
we have ARPA
you
funds
got
left designated.
That was
Yeah.
COVID related.
Okay. Okay.
So I
we're gonna,
agree with you, you know, and the other thing I will say is that here's, and we'll get into this conversation next week too, about personnel, but it is consistency, you know, the same person kind of thing. So you had Sandy and Rebecca or whatever for a long period of time, and so things were fairly consistent. And then, since then, you've kind of had some turnover and different thought processes and kind of relying on where things were in the past.
Mhm.
But if there wasn't a clear understanding of what the descriptions meant, that's why I want to do some work on your chart of accounts and in defining that too.
And I think it's
So-
important then to know, maybe not for us, our eyes, but then, I mean, when you're entering it, wouldn't it be helpful to know exactly where it is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some description.
so are we gonna remove anything then from
Capital outlay, future road,
180.
180 is gonna be gone?
and 79, right? We don't need that. It's never been used. What is the
Yeah,
plan?
it's it's used in a different place. I mean.
That makes,
outlay is a CIP.
is a CIP, right,
So we
exactly.
remove it from this spot
So
here.
take that out, the 179.
And then remove that 75,000.
Well,
To page 5.
Mhm, to the capital outlay.
To the capital outlay, yep. So really, street maintenance for 2023, if we kept it the same as 2022, that's 23,000. 20,000 for street maintenance, line 182. 1,000 for sand chloride rock,
Hmm.
and then 2,000 for subcontracted services.
Okay, so the 2,000 and 1,000 are already there per prior budgets.
Yep.
We're changing the 75 to 20.
20, correct.
Okay.
you'll cover that.
That would be my request.
So we're at 23,000.
Yeah, for that.
Just as a starting point for descriptions, for street maintenance line 182, in parentheses, we could say non-CIP.
Correct.
Good discussion. Tree removal. And
That's the same as, it'd be the same as 2022. We've got a lot of, oak trees that need to be, taken care of, trimmed and pruned and treated. River Park and Orinoco Park. And then, this kind of play,
point that's November, December on the oak
Yes.
trees.
yep, we're waiting for freeze up to treat the oak trees, to prune them. And I believe I will spend that 20,000 this year. And then also I would like that for next year as well, that 20,000. And then, of course, if there is any, I know this has been brought up in the past, any, tree removal within the right of way. I think having that 20,000 there to take care of right of way trees as well. If the council decides to go down that road where public works staff would, have the responsibility of taking care of right of ways.
And let me ask, do we know, is any of that in the water sewer contract, if there's something in the right of way? Or where does that fall? So let's say we do have trees in the right of way
That's
and
gonna
they're
be a
putting
big
water
one
and
for the-
sewer in.
Not supposed to have
Was
it
that,
there.
was that part of the contract? Well, right, and I know the right of way has changed over time.
Or existing trees that were there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though,
Yeah,
because the right of way
prior
has
to it.
got bigger over time as well. So what I'm hearing is there's nothing in the
I
water
don't
sewer
think that's
contract
there.
or
It's in the
anything.
easements, you know, we pay people
Or
easements.
not right away, I'm sorry, easement.
Easements,
That's what I was
easements, we pay fees for those easements that we use,
They've already been paid though, haven't we?
permanent easements. What's that?
Haven't we paid that? Cause we paid those people the
Yeah,
easement
that's
fee.
already been paid out. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Did you bring that whole thing for you?
No, that's for anybody.
Oh. Does anybody need water? I'm sorry, I'm an awful host.
Oh, they brought it in. Yeah, she told us when she, I think you weren't in here quite yet. Okay.
These tree dump. Thank you. You really gotta know who's doing a lot of small. State of Minnesota, it's a tree dump up there in between by the roundabout. When you go off 52, you go up to my place. They're gonna dig it down to limestone. All these trees from throughout the county up to the state and burn them. All the smoke coming out of Oakwood.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that discussion about how to treat right of way, residents who's responsible kind of thing. So we know that the residents are responsible for mowing and keeping the weeds down, yada, yada, yada. That is in the ordinances. What's not clear is taking care of trimming the trees. If somebody's coming out of their driveway and, you know, it's, the road is blocked. The view is blocked by their overhanging trees or whatever. That creates a public safety issue for the city, right? Who's gonna pay for it? Because that's not clear in the ordinance. And that is on the agenda for the planning and zoning meeting. September 8th, I think. This next one,
Good.
trying to get that aligned so that we,
I
it's
think,
clear.
I think city staff has wanted that clear direction and if we could get that, where that line is and whose responsibility it
Right.
is, that would help us very much.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with what I was saying. So, you know, if there's a tree that's 12 foot off the road, you know, off the street and they're coming through with water and sewer, am I taking that out? Is it budgeted from the water and sewer project? And I don't think it is. You know, who's responsible for taking that out? Because what I'm hearing, that belongs to the city. You know what I'm saying? So if that tree is in that space that the city is saying, hey, it's ours, you know, so many feet from the center of the road, then is it the homeowner's responsibility to take trees out
Okay.
and prune trees? You know,
I think we need to save the discussion for P and Z and come to council.
Yeah.
but it could create
So
an
we-
expense, is what I'm trying to say.
Continue working on the budget.
They'll throw anything at the city and say it's the city's responsibility.
If you
Well,
would,
and that's why we're trying to clarify that in the ordinance to make it the resident. And if they're not gonna do it, then hopefully we have a fee schedule that includes what it's gonna, you know, what
Right.
can we charge them for doing it for them?
correct,
So that's where that's going.
page 3, the shop department, tools, equipment, supplies, we're still trying to grow our tools, equipment and supplies. I'd like to keep that the same. Down, you'll see the 10% increases on electricity, heating and gas and oil. I believe we made 20% on the previous accounts. We could make that increase here as well.
Right.
The next two items, same. Once you get to repair and maintenance vehicles, you'll see I added $10,000, but for some reason it's showing 13. Anyway, that's for an additional snowplow for our 2022 pickup truck. That would give us a second plow truck that could be used. It can be used for the future lift stations, the wastewater treatment facility, and then also just a backup truck for. We only have one truck right now with a plow on it, so having the redundancy there and having the plows exactly the same, they could be interchanged if a truck was down or if a plow was down. That's what I'm requesting.
So if I may, just, I think you probably were bumping up the budget a little bit plus the 10,000 that you wanted for that. Just a guess, but then, so like on repair and maintenance equipment. See, that's where I'm thinking that a plow is more a piece of equipment than a vehicle
Okay.
expense. I don't know if anybody else thinks that way or, cause I'm looking at it, you know, you haven't spent anything in that of the 2022 budget. And you only spent 4,000 and then prior years were less, so.
What's your explanation of the equipment? Is that?
Yeah, how do you define it?
I guess a vehicle would be something that's,
Motorized. That's fine.
well, no, a vehicle would be something that you actually, you register, right? You register a trailer, you register a truck, that's a vehicle. Or the truck is, the trailer would be equipment, I'm sorry there, but like, Bobcat, that's more of like an off-road piece of equipment, right?
I don't know. I agree with Sunny though, it's an attachment, a snowplow isn't its own, and you know, so it's not.
So you're looking at moving it from, basically from 201 up to 200 and do it that way?
I really disagree with that, cause when you go to get rid of the truck, the plow is going with it. It's,
That's a good point.
It's like a radio in a truck. When you get rid of the truck, the radio goes.
That's a
But
good
the
point.
snow plow will never come back off the truck.
Well. Devil's advocate here.
They will,
No, that'll never, it'll all go,
It should all go that way. You have a current truck with a current plow and,
cause they change brackets and everything, yeah.
yep, and that's exactly it.
And if somebody
Well,
just
then-
looks at this vehicles, I would never think of that being a snowplow. The vehicle is a vehicle,
A plow is,
vehicle with a plow is equipment that goes on, just like the bed box that you put in,
sure.
the dump box. To me, that's not a vehicle, that's an equipment.
So then by doing that, we could just add $4,000 to that equipment. Instead of 10.
So, and I won't speak for Renee here, but the repair and maintenance vehicles is 45 over budget right now. And it's nothing spent out of the repair and maintenance equipment. So maybe it's just how I'm telling Renee, or you know what I mean? Maybe just some direction, how we wanna code or word.
Collectively define.
Collective,
what
right.
Those terms are, yeah.
Cause I
We
know
agree on building them, right?
building, yeah, we're good with building.
So when you buy the truck, do you buy the truck with the plow on it? Or that's an accessory?
It'd be an accessory.
doesn't come with it. Doesn't come with it.
Right, so personally, I guess I think we're getting hung up on that. We could say a vehicle is anything that that you license. And equipment is anything that is not licensed.
So if we say equipment / accessory, would that help identify that more?
So then,
But then when you,
The snowplow is an accessory.
So,
when we go to sell it,
then it would have
I
to
would, we got a decent, cause we're gonna sell it with the plow on it. So we
Well,
got,
I don't know what that has to do with budgeting for this year.
Because it could be
Yeah.
capital equipment is what it comes down
20,
to, right? to
25.
get into that.
percent of it's gonna be plow or, the truck's gonna bring 25% more with the plow on it.
yeah,
Depending on what season you sell it in too, right? Well, here's the other thing though, is you also mentioned that the point was that you keep your vehicles kind of with standardized and so the accessories, if you will, are gonna be interchangeable, right?
no,
So I don't, depending on the season, you may not want to sell the plow with the truck. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're getting another truck that will accommodate that,
You still have to have the mounting and that's what Carl was saying, that every truck is gonna be different for the mounting part of the plow, even though you got the blade. You still have to have the mounting mechanism that there is on that. So you get a new truck. The undercarriage of that isn't always the same as what there was for the truck that you currently have. Is that the best way to describe it?
yeah, that's.
And your plow,
That's spot on.
the age of your plow coincides with the age of your truck, is what I'm hearing. Because if your truck is worn out, your plow is worn out.
Right.
So in reality, when you buy a new truck, we should put the plow in with it, and then you've got it set up as one capital expenditure. And one expenditure coming back in when you sell it.
as opposed to
Being separate now, the
expensing
way that
it,
we have.
you're
it now.
talking about putting it in the CIP.
So this particular plow was not purchased with our last pickup. So I guess this one purchase, I like that idea. Our new pickups we buy them with a plow. It's all combined right? We
When
budget.
it goes with the plow.
Yep, we budgeted all together. I like that. We didn't do that for that last pickup we purchased. So this is kind of a one-time purchase to get a truck with a matching plow and get up to date with it. And then moving forward, you know, you'll see on the back page here, I do have in there a new pickup for next year, possibly from the CIP fund. So hopefully that would be budgeted to include a plow.
In the future, when we do sell this, how hard would it be to just parcel that apart?
We could, I think Carl hit on a point, it would bring more money.
No,
As a
I mean,
package?
in the budget, sorry, to just say, here's what the plow was worth, here's what the truck was worth, and then that goes into the proper places. As far as,
Maintenance.
oh,
Put on your list.
The building doesn't like
We know.
snow.
yeah, me either, I'm doing it actually.
But do we have to divide them out?
That's what I mean, like, why are we focused on this? Why
Is
can't,
there a reason to divide them out? Or should we just say it's a plow, a truck with an accessory of a plow? And whenever we buy a truck, we're gonna buy a plow. Whenever we sell a truck, we're selling the plow with it.
well, I think what came, cause currently we didn't do that, so we have to figure out where to put this year. The proper place to put it this year, and then when we, if we're worried about when we sell it again. And is that what we're worried about, being able to account for that?
You don't want.
That's gonna come on the revenue side, so it's
It not, it has
Doesn't
anything,
even-
that's,
So it doesn't
that's
have
kind
anything
of what
to
I
do with
was
it.
getting at, when I said, what does that matter for our discussion today? It doesn't,
January.
thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
that's.
I know,
another
I'm
thing.
just thinking,
And if
he
it's
wants a new
In
plow,
November, December, yeah, you buy it.
only plow. It
I'll
doesn't-
work you that.
Yeah.
It goes
Then it's an equipment, I don't know.
Now we got the.
So what I'm hearing then, we
Doesn't-
just have to put the pickup and the plow, the pickup with a plow in that budget. Right?
No, we want that in the CIP.
Or that's, I mean, it goes in CIP
Right.
and it's
In the
not.
future,
Yes.
but this time, we just need to fit it.
So why we, maybe the confusing
equipment.
is the R and M. Because gas, oil miscellaneous kind of takes care of R and M too on vehicles. In line 198, so if we change the title in line 201 to say vehicle equipment. And take off R and M. It's not repair and maintenance. If we're just buying
Is there enough money,
snowplows and put it into miscellaneous for R and M.
I,
Sonny, is there enough money left in this year's budget someplace for buy a plow?
Well, between those two lines,
Like I just told Kane, I said, you know, if we get a bad winter. In November and December, and he goes to try and buy a plow in January, he ain't buying a plow. You know, so
he's got 8,000 in those two categories. Equipment and vehicles, and he's spent 6,500.
He doesn't have much left over.
But then again, if you look at the first item, tools, equipment and supplies, there's half.
So collectively, in those line items that are budgeted for 34,700, you've spent 21.
Right.
So the question is, has he spent it? Not yet, but.
August.
Right.
It is, we got a few months to go and a few snow, but I think, I think at this point, all we're talking about is how to code one
Yes.
plow.
yes,
That's it.
Because if you're lucky enough to get another truck next year with a plow, that would be in the CIP.
Correct. Yep.
So,
but he wouldn't have to have it in the budget if he bought it this year. He wouldn't have to worry about it.
Oh.
Right?
You're,
We don't have 10,000. Is this snowplow 10,000?
10,000, yep.
None of our,
Is it a boss?
And everything else.
It is a boss, it is. you know, that's one thing you'll find out later here in the budget is Parks and Recreation. I will request to purchase a new mower late fall here for $16,000 down on line item 228. In that budget, I've got 24,000 budgeted and I've only spent 71 in change, so that is a purchase I'll be making this year. You know, a new mower for 2023 out of this year's budget. But like Carl was saying right now, do I have $10,000 to purchase a plow right now? Kind of yes and no. I've got 4 months of the year left.
We're taking money out of 2 or 3 different accounts to get it though.
Right.
So, but maintenance for the wastewater treatment facility and everything, that's all that's contractor, snow, everything, removal. That's what we've discussed, right? Like, because it is the contractor's
The
site.
streets, yes.
So we don't need that. If you're talking, you know, I get what you're saying to get to our buildings, current buildings with the plow we already have. But until this project is done, it is the contractor's job to remove snow from their site.
Correct.
So I think that that is a point when we're like, what is the hurry? On I think it's a good thought about what if we can't get a plow, but also we
think
could
it's-
always operate in what ifs.
Yeah,
The-
yeah, it is a what if, cause I think Kane is saying, okay, what if ours goes down? Then we're without, and that is a what if.
It is.
Has it gone down?
No, I think what'll happen is if that truck's out of town, say if that truck's in the cities or St. Cloud or Rural Water Conference or wherever it may be, you know, traveling, having that capability, a backup plow.
Which I get in the future, I just don't know if that's necessarily an issue for until the project is done.
Sure. And so I guess what I'm saying with this snowplow, the second snowplow purchase is sometime in 2023
Right.
would be the time to purchase it.
Correct.
And you know what? We could roll the dice and get through this winter. I'm capable of that. I'm just trying to match a plow with that truck that we did not do
Mhm.
with our last truck purchase. So this is just to kind of get us up to date, get our trucks matched with a plow.
Mhm.
And then moving forward, we've kind of gone over that now.
And I think that that's a good plan to get it in 2023. I don't think we need to worry about buying it. in
Buying it
2022.
2022.
Yeah. That's just my personal thought.
Yep, I think we can make that work.
Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah,
So, having decided that, we wanna put the 10,000 in the plow in line 200 or 201?
Well, what I hear you saying is we're not including the 10,000 for the plow at all.
Mhm.
For 2023.
Yeah, for
No, we are
2023,
for
we are.
2023.
Oh, okay.
We were just
Okay.
we were having a discussion about if it should be purchased within our current budget for
Okay.
2022, and I think that would be
Okay.
So then does that
necessary.
move it up to 16,000 or is the 6,000 part of the 10,000?
You could make the equipment 16,000 and leave 3,000 in the RM on vehicles just for
Yeah.
repair and maintenance.
Okay,
So moving it to where?
we can try that.
Okay, so we're.
Line 200 will be 16,000
Okay,
and 201 goes to 3,000.
Yep.
And just put the snowplow note in line 200.
Correct. Good discussion there.
Moving on.
The next department is the Orinoco Dam. I think Sunny can speak to that.
Well, you kind of haven't spent any money there since 2021 and 2020.
So that's the end of the contract. I think it's,
So do we
We were-
need anything?
I don't think so. I haven't looked at this for a while, but we did have I'll say a 7-year contract when we removed the dam. 2016, 2017, and there was some payments to the county of that 9931 to help pay off our portion of our dam removal costs.
Dam removal.
So we had a 60-40 split with the county. And our 40% included these payments, I think. And I think that's over with in 2021. Typically, you've got a notice from the county that is due.
Okay, so
Let
I'll
me,
check
let
and
me
see
check on
when
that, and
that,
I'll get back with you more.
yeah, wondering when that was paid,
With the
because if
dates and
that's
the
still
contract.
coming, yeah.
I know I looked at that sometime this year, but I'd have to go back and look again.
Well, we didn't budget for it, so.
Hopefully. Parks and Recreation,
Parks and Rec,
let me just, so that department 43-120, hopefully that whole thing was going to.
Okay,
That's the
Damn.
question.
okay.
Line 205, 216,
205 to 260.
go Dan.
the Parks and Recs Department, I see electricity, gas, oil, miscellaneous. It should probably make that 20% increases on those, just like the previous accounts. As you can see, this is what I was talking about, there's 24,000 in the budget for 2022. I plan to spend 16,000 of that, late this fall for a new mower.
Like 2022, not 2023.
2023.
Well, no, see
No,
the funds we have right now,
See what you're
Yeah.
saying.
the funds we have right now, I will spend in 2022. And then I added another $1,000 because the price of the mowers have gone up. So,
And the trade-in comes in on the revenue side then,
correct,
11,000 or whatever that.
whatever that number is, yep.
So
Yeah,
you're
you're
gonna
looking-
spend the whole amount, the 24. Right,
This year, yep.
this year for line 20 or 228.
It's cutting it close, but yeah, we're coming to the end of, mowing season, groundskeeping season, so I think I'll make it this year.
Then we get 11,000 back for the other old mower.
That will be determined when we go in for a trade-in. Hilltop Sales, where we purchased those mowers from. He'll give us that number once he has the mower and gives us a value, trade-in value. We could possibly try to sell it outright. That's always an option. We've had good luck with
Online.
online auctions. I don't know if you were cutting me off there. Okay. We could try selling it outright. That's something we'll just have to work with Hilltop with and see what the amount is and see if we're willing to go for that. So things that'll happen here late at the end of the mowing season. And then the next line item here, an additional equipment trailer for 10,000, a snow pusher, 5,000 for our Bobcat. And I would purchase those at the beginning of the year, 2023. Those are two things that we thought of within the department.
The additional trailer is for,
The additional trailer would be for the Bobcat. Having a Bobcat trailer that we can have our attachments on, more than one attachment. Have multiple attachments on this trailer, a work trailer, and that way we're not shuffling back and forth with our Bobcat, you know. We find ourselves doing that if we need more than one attachment. Right now, we can only haul one or or just the forks and the bucket, so having that equipment trailer with the Bobcat on it, having it kind of a work trailer set up for that. That's one request we came up with, and then another one would be an actual box blade, a snow pusher for the Bobcat. Kind of a way to what you see in the big parking lots, big front end loaders, just pushing large piles. Not really a wing or a blade, but a box pusher.
So the broom that we have is only good for what, 2-3 inches?
Dusting.
Yeah,
Thing, or-
inch and a half, depending if it's wet, if it's.
Serves its purpose, but not. for-
It does, and it helps clean up here at City Hall and the fire hall, some sidewalks that, the trail systems. It helps clean up what the plow scrapes over.
The sand in the spring.
So Kane, are you talking, is this equipment trailer going to be longer than
It would
what you
be,
have?
yep, it'd be longer and it would be able to hold more of the attachments specifically for a skid loader. So, construction skid loader trailer.
And then my question is, as you're gathering all these, the equipment that you need for do you have the space for indoor storage of this stuff?
So, hopefully we will get some space. There'll be some limited space at the treatment facility. With the fire trucks being out of the city shop right now, that's giving us quite a bit of space. We are filling up that shop, though. Our public works shop is getting full. We could fit an additional trailer because a lot of the attachments for the skid loader would fit on that trailer. They'd be on there
Taking full-
year round, so you won't be taking up floor space.
Yeah, could you, I haven't been in the city shop, but I know from my shop. Can you get like big racking to stack
We sure
some of
can.
that on?
Yeah, we sure can. That just takes away from like the pull through bays. You
Oh,
know,
it does.
so we try to leave those pull through bays open.
Yeah.
For trailers and some of the larger equipment, but we sure could put some racking in there.
Or a mezzanine, if it came with that too, because then you could still use a pull through. If you had a mezzanine type setup, if there was some.
Yep, and those are all things that can be done in,
I get that
additional
bit in
things,
there, so I-
racking, and we've got some racking, but we could use some bigger stuff, some better stuff, and that can be covered under our shop budget, tools, equipment, supplies.
Okay.
So right now, if you look at your budget in 2022, you're at 22,900 and you budgeted 128.
So what you see there is the salaries and wages haven't come out,
Okay,
and that's a very large portion, right, Sunny?
Well, here's the thing, those black numbers that you see that are
Mm,
in boxed out, that's.
redacted.
Well, no, that's for next week's discussion. You used to see it something, weren't you? So those are discussion points for next week. But we've talked about this before and it's actually on the next page. Under general maintenance,
so
groundskeeping, line 248. We'll come back to this other one, but I just want to show that there you see all the salaries and wages for 2022 are showing up in that department.
okay, so are we okay then with everything that's going up here through 232? I mean, 232?
Oh, no, I was gonna move you back, but I just
Okay.
wanted to say, so that's why you're not seeing any, real activity in the actuals because of coding issues.
Okay, I see that.
Can you clarify, King, it says new mower purchased late 2023, is that supposed to be 2022? Or
No,
is that you wanna buy one in 2022 and 2023?
yep, we will continue to purchase mowers every year. So we've got 3 mowers and they'll be with us for 3 seasons and then we'll trade up.
Trade in, okay,
So,
just like the trucks.
yep, so that's an ongoing expense that 24, now it's 25 because the price has gone up a little bit, so.
So could we consider, instead of 40,000, take the 10,000 for the trailer and the 5 for the snow pusher, and put that into CIP.
That's definitely a
Or
possibility.
leave it at 25,000
That's, yeah, definitely a
for your
possibility.
general equipment. Now, 25. You looked at where you're at this year, you've only spent 4,000 of that.
So, and that's a good point, you know, I could. Those two purchases, the 10,000 for the trailer and the 5,000 for the pusher, those could be made this year. I mean, I could come to council in September and request funds out of that general equipment for parks and recreation. That's definitely a possibility.
Any idea what else outside of what you're just said for general equipment, do you
So.
see any other purchases?
So there are other things, you know, we've talked about replacing picnic tables and garbage receptacles over the years. We talked about a Riverwood Hills shelter, we've talked about additional benches, the senior Orinoco group. So there are other things that could come out of that. I'm not saying I have to buy these two things.
A couple of things in defense of. In defense of Kane, part of it may be wanting to include this here as a budgeted item, so that when it goes to the CIP, he doesn't like lose on everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we just don't have the money for
Right.
whatever, or it limits this kind of thing. So I could be wrong, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's right on, Sonny. Yeah, if we get to the CIP discussion and I want a trailer, want a pusher and a truck and I get none of them, you know, I should have fought for those things here or
Mhm.
not fought for them, but insisted having them here in the budget versus the CIP.
I think if it's something we're going to need, I would just leave it. As a budgeted item, because if you know you have to have it, cause CIP, you might be rolling the dice.
I think that what Ryland said makes a lot of sense too, to pull that $10,000 and $15,000 that there is and spend it this year since you've already got it. You know, and drop that down to the 25. I think that was a great idea.
Mhm.
The money is budgeted and
Yep.
it's your responsibility to use it. As you, or like Sonny mentioned earlier, so I would have. You wanna come back to council with that proposal?
Okay. Can do.
So then do we lower that?
40 to 25.
Along with maybe tables and garbage cans, maybe not everything, but just,
You know, and that's something I could try to get the most bang for our buck, try to get, you know, not buy both trailer and pusher, but maybe garbage cans and picnic tables and one of those, you know, or that's something I can bring to September council meeting and.
let's do that.
Okay, so we're gonna
So
drop
let's
that down to 25 or leave it in?
So
You know,
both
with
of
the
those
25,
line
right?
items are 25,000, right? Hearing that right?
That's what I
Two
thought.
29 at 25,000.
And 228 was 25 as well.
Yes, it
Okay.
stays at 25.
Okay. And just as a matter of, you know, we kind of have this just big generic general equipment line item that's kind of perhaps we should better define that and
Cause, yeah, I'm talking picnic tables and a trailer and
they're like apples and oranges, right?
Right.
right, and then I'm
So-
talking about snow equipment, so.
Right. Right.
It is hard for me to understand how that doesn't go up almost in shop and. Or what's the other?
Yeah, 2021, we looked
At the top of the page there.
at much
Right,
better what we did in 2021.
I mean, is that maybe what we need to do? Is put that up in shop and then we wouldn't be confused about general equipment for parks, cause then it would make more sense that it would be things like picnic tables, garbage cans. Because if it's,
I agree, the mowers should stay there,
sure.
but I'm
because
with
it's
you, that other
specific-
stuff is.
Other than just park equipment.
Yeah, an equipment well, because you're saying it hauls the mowers, but it hauls other things too.
Right.
Park amenities or something.
Right. I think we need to define that,
Yeah.
picnic tables, shelters, garbage cans, those are parks, but they're also park amenities or structures, whatever you wanna.
Amenities might be the better.
Because we start building shelters and gazebos, that's in fact, should be a capital improvement, not a budget item.
Like a stupid question, but where does our porta potties, where do we take that out of?
Sonny and I talked about that yesterday.
Not a stupid question.
No, it's kind of like.
You know, that should come from parks.
Correct, that should be.
Equipment.
Well, and I don't know if that's,
Equipment, cause you lease it.
Mhm.
It's leased, right?
True.
Or used,
Rent
that's what it-
or- Yeah.
Yeah, rented, so.
Yeah.
you think that's the recreational
That's
activities?
right?
I'm guessing it's.
Yeah, but
those
it's
two.
not,
They're kind
so it'd be almost a service item.
What were your
Yeah.
comment?
Porta pot, where do we porta potty, where does that budget come out of? I don't know, I would like to see equipment used outside of the parks to be put in the shop budget.
That's one of those,
This is like
almost
your,
a subcontract thing.
well, like your city code clearly needs work. And I'm gonna say your chart accounts. So we'll work on that too and get it, cause I agree with you, you know, and it certainly makes, especially for somebody who's trying to, you know,
Right.
the apprentice accountant, I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna make her accountant yet. But, you know, trying to figure out these things too is challenging. One, the system in and of itself, but two, the accounting piece, and then this whole coding thing to match your stuff. You know, one of the things that we talked about is when they sold what did you sell recently?
Fire truck.
The fire truck, but you also sold something else.
Log
Oh.
splitter.
Some multiple pieces of equipment or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so regardless what it was, but you don't even have an account for to receive sale proceeds from sale of assets. It's been like, well,
Okay.
not that, you know, they never want you to get rid of stuff, but
So you'll
it happens. So I'll work on that.
work on this, possibly making these two.
You could almost look at what you're asking Dana for that as being recreational activities, you know, anyone would say miscellaneous for what there is for the porta potties.
Well, porta potties must be being paid out of one of these accounts,
I'm thinking it's the
R&M buildings and something under, parks and recreation.
But then look in 2021, there's nothing.
Yeah, so those.
So nothing got paid out of there that year.
On-site bills all
Well, and miscellaneous in, again, 2020 was 47.
Oh,
the time. I think subcontracted service.
Miscellaneous, where am I looking on this?
Well, because look at all the other ones that were
231.
zero.
47, wow, you're right,
We don't have
7,000. Right here.
Yeah, but that's 2020.
Yeah,
It
but
would
look-
still be there.
Oh, I'm talking of miscellaneous.
I know, but
So-
you're saying all those ones up here are zero, I said, yeah, but that's all wage stuff.
Because look, but it all got dumped into one.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet.
So maybe that's part of the salaries and wages and everything, yeah.
But the other
Why not?
years have entries, is what I'm saying.
So how would that get by on an audit without them catching that?
That's before Sunny.
No, But,
No, but I'm
you know,
just
but
saying.
we
the
still
audit
get audited, that's where,
content, you
that's where
know?
I would question it, you know, how thorough are her audits?
Well, and here's the
Well,
other
why
thing
did
too, is they do
I
spot
got
checking
Bill in
too, right? So
I
they're
knew
just
something,
gonna,
so she didn't know.
they're gonna look at everything, but they're gonna really audit, investigate. You know, they'll give you a list of, okay, these random 10 checks, you're gonna have more than that, but for sake of example, these 10 checks I wanna see and I wanna make sure that they match up and they close and stuff.
So they're not gonna call out these
Okay.
That's not.
That are
I
outside the-
can't say that.
boundaries.
Okay. So porta potties is an open question.
Well, we think.
Well,
we
I
know
think
this.
this whole thing needs to be restructured between shop and parks. I think we need to combine some things up into shop. And
I
then,
think-
and then better define general equipment, down here. To
I
be
think-
specific to parks.
Yeah, and I'm thinking recreational activities might be, the tennis net or the, that kind of park.
Painting of the lines on the pickleball or paint, or the
Backstop.
backstop or.
That's what you-
Cause
I think some of the confusion probably is because Orinoco Park, over the years, it's gone from the state to a county to a city park now. And I think back, if you look at line 269, Orinoco Park was a standalone, even though now it's part of our park and recreation, so.
what? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it had. it-
Orinoco Park is,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
really just all of our parks now, so it's really
Yeah,
kind of like the groundkeeping and.
so Sunny, you're gonna work on that.
So, well, that's my question. There might this department be
Mm-hmm.
made inactive and combined with the other parks and trails? And
Mhm.
Gina and I talked about that and it made sense to us, but again.
There's
Part of
no-
our park
Combine it
system.
into one.
Yeah.
There's no building there anymore. That was an issue, I'm sure, in the past.
I think it did have some revenue and it did have a few extra licenses or permits, but
Well, I guess we do have the bathroom,
Yeah,
but yeah, that should be under parks.
to simplify this budget a little bit,
Uh-huh.
instead of having a park and then parks,
Correct.
combine them.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and we can have a line item for the bathroom. Or maybe that's where porta potties,
It might
bathroom
be.
facilities. I don't know. Was that a stupid line item?
We're not sure where it is. There is no porta potty line.
No, I know there isn't, but there's also the building, there's the actual building there that requires some maintenance and some, so that could be combined as a line item with
Right.
porta potties, like bathroom facilities for our park
Right. Yeah,
One- line.
which line item were you putting?
I'm making it up.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting there looking, going, where is that?
Made it up right
I
now.
would leave community center by itself.
Okay, so we're all okay with Orinoco Park going into Parks and Rec?
Yes.
And you could probably combine general maintenance groundkeeping.
Yeah.
Did that go into parks too or
Well,
not?
that's all.
Line 257 to 267.
Well,
Oh, wow.
okay,
So go back. and
okay,
start at the top.
let's start at the top of that page before we move.
So we're talking page 4?
Yeah.
Page, we're
Yeah.
not gonna add anything else if there is, and so we're complete on 232 then, right?
32. Yep, we moved that to 25,000. We're gonna check out porta potties. And,
Pull in Orinoco Park.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
and the community center,
Miscellaneous expense, that might be your porta potties too.
Yeah, that's the weird.
231, line 231.
that's what you said, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll check it out. So then, yeah, up at school.
We got 4 porta potties. 5. Garden. river park. 5.
Six.
Top of page 4.
Top of page 4, supplies for the community center. It was at 7,000 for this year. We've only spent 792. I backed that down. Unless I'm missing something, if I took it back to $2,000. Supplies, I think of, disposables. paper towels, soap, right, cleaning supplies.
How come in 2021 it was 11,807?
I,
Was, no,
That's huge.
That,
that
so
wasn't the,
where does our office supplies
Yeah.
come in?
office supplies.
Like paper,
Doesn't
pen.
care about that.
Well, right, but we do
I
budget,
believe that would go under supplies.
we do budget that, right? I mean, where's our, like, printer? Do we own it? Do we lease it? Rent it?
You rent it.
Right, so where's that? Where's,
A lot of that is showing up, I think, under your financial administration, which is up in.
Yeah.
It's not on this.
Oh.
That's in next week.
okay, so we will,
Yeah.
okay, so that's
Yeah.
different.
So we don't know where that 11,000, what that was all about.
So that's just building.
Because, yeah, because this is like your internet and telephone and.
Oh, okay.
reimbursement. Yeah, and then legal services, planning and zoning will get to that.
Do you think that was a miscode there? Like financial
did we
stuff?
move- did we move on from the 235 to 245?
No, we're still playing around with 236 right now. I think that's what
We're just wondering.
I was just
Because we
wondering
don't,
whether
we're trying to figure out what's in supplies.
And why it was 11,000 and then 7,000, like why it
Yeah.
had been,
we only did 792 this year so far.
It's been different bookkeepers.
do you think, Renee, it could have been quoted wrong, like? Community center could have been financial, or,
Depends what was budgeted for 20.
Possibly, I wasn't doing checks in 2021, so.
but that'd be easy to mistake, maybe?
But
Yeah,
But
we're-
community center and admin stuff, you know what I mean? Maybe.
Is software under supplies?
Mm, It might have been coded
Oh,
accidentally that
maybe.
way.
Yeah, because we were talking about software and.
We did do some, we did buy
Yeah.
some software and stuff last year.
But that would, so it could have just been coded, it could have been put in the wrong.
So
place.
we'll check on that and make sure that there's clarity.
So I agree with Kane that these are
236.
disposable supplies, toilet paper, paper,
supplies.
That's what I thought it
Favorite.
was, and that's why I dropped it way down from 7,000.
yeah, that makes sense.
Moving on, you'll see the same, Sunny's formula, 239, 240. And then, the 10% increases in electricity and heating, if you guys wanna make those 20%.
Yep.
And then the final item you'll see there is repair and maintenance building, $30,000. Additional security and cameras, I know it's been talked about, we've been talking about it. Possibly some badge readers for access into buildings and doors, I left it high, I left it at 30,000. I'm up for a conversation of,
Is that some of the preliminary numbers you've gotten from quotes?
no, but
It's.
We had
Still on our
2021, we
list.
had
I have
30,000.
a couple quotes, yeah.
Actual.
Do you remember what they?
right in 2021, you recall, we replaced our boilers or a portion of the boilers. And we just did receive a bill for the remainder of the boilers. And that will come out of this year's 2022. But then in 2021, we also did kind of remodeled the city office, desk and electricity and electrical.
Providers.
Yep,
That's where that was, okay.
But because right now we're at 57, right? And we budgeted 21. Are we gonna use that 21?
like I said, we
Can
just
we
received a bill for the remainder of the boilers.
And how much
What
was
did you
that?
get,
Where are you
57?
at 57? Oh,
Line
5,700,
243.
5,700.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was looking for 57,000 too, I'm like,
Yeah.
I am not.
So how much was that, Kane?
Let me look here, I've got it on
Thinking it was less than 5, wasn't it?
I'm wondering is some of this that's listed, can it be bought out of this year's budget?
4,125.
So we're still well.
So,
under that.
yeah, so we're about 12,000 under. I mean, give or take, there's gonna be some expenses probably, but can some of these, like the additional security cameras or the badge reader, can some of these things come out of this year's budget?
They sure could. I think the key with this is purchasing or getting involved with a system or a company that can grow with the city. So, you know, we're not just gonna go to Sam's Club and buy some.
Cause we want it,
No.
the same thing to be at the wastewater treatment facility and the
And all of our
garage
facilities.
and, yeah.
And have the ability to monitor and.
So maybe that is better to just budget out for that and take our time. I don't know. While I would love a new door, cause that was a hot mess trying to get in here
Definitely, and
every day.
that's a part of that
Yeah.
30,000 as well. It's security,
Mhm.
comma, cameras, so,
But I do agree with taking time and making sure we have one system for all the buildings.
I agree with that, but I mean, if we've got an issue with that door, I think we can get the door fixed to make it easier for us to
Right.
right,
get in and out of, you
Yeah.
and
know?
that will be a fall. That will get done this fall.
Yeah, okay. I think that's priority.
Yeah, that, I agree. That's
And
a
then-
pain.
And I
Oh,
do,
it's so fun watching you guys. Oh,
I knew you were in there laughing at me.
Here's how I'm trying to do that.
So I think if we do our research and take our time, but fix what we need to fix now, that would make sense. And if that 30,000 is enough, do you think it'd be enough?
Well, let me ask you, is in our, you know, building we have, is security put in that building that's out for water and sewer? It's not put in there. Oh, wow.
You have a fence with lights, is what I was told.
We what? Yeah. we
You have a fence with
yeah,
the lights.
so-
Okay.
But I'd like to have security cameras. I agree with
Potentially.
you on that one, yeah. Yeah, you
They'll
wanna
keep
have-
updated, you know.
Carl just asked the question of having a contractor or a company that does security services or custom alarm comes to mind.
Yeah, they've already been out here for.
So, but I like Dana's idea of leaving it high and taking our time.
Yeah.
doing the right thing.
You
Right.
know, we can get this door fixed or we can get it kind of not Band-Aid, but make an improvement until our new system.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we need a citywide system that,
Leave it
like
small.
you said, can grow. That makes sense.
And I'm gonna say that this isn't the only place that should show up, because the shop is a separate
Right.
building facility that needs to have,
Mhm.
you know, so we can't charge everything to this one if it's
That's
kind of like
true.
the part, you know, the mowers
Right.
going to the parks, because
Right,
that's where
right,
they're
right.
used, kind of. And Kane and I talked about this too, we wanna get to where we're really assigning you know, specific staff to specific areas of responsibility and the same with equipment, you know,
Mhm.
and as we're kind of looking at replacing stuff, instead of trying to pull it from, you know, 10 different things, okay, maybe we have to pull it from 2 different areas, but let's keep it as simple and clean as we can and move it from there, so.
Mhm.
Okay. So we'll leave it there, that we're.
For now.
There,
Moving on to the next blue item you see there, it's actually the training line item. I plan on having a additional in-house safety training that could be potentially quarterly or twice a year for all public works staff that would cover right to know, kind of your basics, confined space. So I did add an additional $1,200 to that $1,800. We will have some fall training coming up this year, and then we also have some spring training lined up as well. So,
That's 255, right?
and you have some OSHA required training to keep current with those,
right,
and tree trimming and those other kind of.
correct,
Chemical,
so,
I'm sure all that. Yeah.
Essentially 2.5 hours every month at $100 an hour.
So
It's very reasonable.
right now, like our seasonal staff, they just get in-house training from senior staff members, right? If we could have somebody who is actually a trained safety expert come in, and I know a few, and I've talked with a few that would come in and give us training, actual training, and
Can be certified.
Be good for the seasonal employees too.
be good for the seasonal. I know I mentioned to them, the first responders were having CPR training that was free for the community members. And I think they had some scheduling conflicts, but that'd be
Oh,
something
great.
I'd want them to learn how to do is
That was
CPR,
well worth it.
AED,
I
and
like that.
So,
And even collectively as staff, you know, including Renee and.
right, you know, I can see that training kind of growing and as we get involved with sewer and more.
Yeah.
More, so.
Just
going down in lift stations.
side note, have we ever thought about having like AEDs or anything like that in our buildings?
We haven't, that's a possibility. We can purchase them. We can purchase the same ones the first responders have, so that's all similar and common and.
Just a thought.
And I have talked to Johan about that
Okay.
too, kind of, so. We gotta rate some grants
Hmm.
in our spare time.
Can we skip over Oracle Park because we're gonna review and combine?
Yeah,
Okay, but I-
we didn't
Which one
get
you want?
everything else.
I skipped over the black box.
Oh, but I do wanna talk about lines 248 to 257. Which is where we're kind of at.
Mhm.
Okay, so as I mentioned, all of the Dave's staff, including himself and everybody else, is all going into that one account. And conversely, you can see below that, we have accounts set up for two of the seasonal people that get their own set of. Good figure. But so I'm gonna combine those and we'll have seasonal will be separate because they're going to be in parks. Cause that's what they do.
Mhm.
So, so that'll go there. But here's the other thing that's happening is because, the city really gets dinged when it comes to workers' comp audits in this area because we haven't been splitting, you know, where the guys perform their work. They choose to dump everything into that highest level, general maintenance, groundskeeping. So the audit results came back and we owe, what was that number? $7,000. So 7 extra in that specific account that just got paid. So that's going to increase because it all goes against that workers' comp insurance thing because of that thing. So what I've used Renee and Kate as the guinea pigs on this and developed a spreadsheet type worksheet for timekeeping that's gonna help us identify whether they're spending time parks. And it's not gonna, it's not, rocket science or surgery, but it is gonna help us give better clarity to how we're gonna code and dispense the expenditures of time and money. So that we can claim, the guys on the mower are just in the mower, not in general maintenance with a higher exposure.
So the $7,000 that we did not budget this year was not brought to my attention last year in the budget. So that's why it was brought to our attention during the audit process that we did not budget for it because I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
From our previous work. For whatever reason, but anyway, that's the reason we were short.
Because it's all based on payroll. probably already know that, right? And then there's a code that they assign to you, and that's firefighters are high.
So these guys who, they have a high code even though they don't do
Yeah,
all the work, all that same work.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
And have we've been losing that every year? Or where, cause it's
Well,
not
this
here
is the
now.
first audit that I've seen. Yeah,
Okay.
it just got paid probably.
We've
So,
never,
yeah, so,
we've never tracked our time like 10% roads, 20% water, 10% admin,
mhm,
30% parks, general maintenance. We haven't done that in the past.
mhm,
This just started, Sunny's brought this to our attention, so
mhm.
now we're implementing this. Getting everyone on board to document their time. And just put hours where they need to be. So
Mhm.
we should see a lower rate in the future.
Well, and even to the extent that we're able to properly code things, the reporting will be better for us.
Mhm.
Not only in terms of providing better definition for future budgets,
Mhm.
but also in terms of the audits, when they come back and they say, oh, yeah, you did do this. And if at some point in the future it becomes clear that you know, specific people are assigned to specific things, we can just say, okay, you know, like the seasonal people,
Mhm.
it's clear that they don't do any of this other stuff, they do mowing, and that's where all of their salary is gonna go to wages. So as that becomes clear, it can be implemented that way. Or the other thing is that it could become the basis for saying, oh, Kane consistently, year after year, has spent 20 hours or 20% of his time on streets.
Mhm.
You know, 30% of his time on, you know, so just building that database, if you
Right.
will, for tracking as well.
Will help to know where we really do need other staff as well. in the future.
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay,
Then the seasonal
Orinoco
people,
Park?
we already,
what's
now
that?
we're on the Orinoco Park.
So
We already decided that, right?
Dawn,
We're on 259.
Was this an area that we need to spend time, or you can come back to us with the combined? part?
Yeah, it'll come back.
We're all on we're on page 5 then.
No,
Oh, yeah,
Looking at your
there's another
agenda.
$2,000 for a mower.
Correct, correct, and that will
Or what?
offset or
Yeah.
be eliminated, how you look at it, so. So the last page here, I did combine some CIP purchases, something that these items would not be in the 2023 budget, they would just come from CIP. I talked about it already, purchasing a new 2023 pickup or 2024, depending on the cutoff dates for ordering the pickup. That would be purchased on the state contract list. It's about a 30% discount from the general public's price. Also on the state contract list would be the wood chipper, and that plays into if we are going to maintain right of ways and additional tree work in our parks. I gotta throw it out there, the next item, a second skid loader. Having one it's kind of like having one wheelbarrow. It's counterproductive when we have to make multiple trips. The picnic tables, that's kind of an ongoing item there. They're about $1,000 a piece. We've got 30 throughout town, so I was just gonna pick 10 a year and start whittling away. Same with the receptacles. We talked about a shelter at Riverwood Hills Park.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah.
$10,000 picnic table or $1,000 picnic tables, are they the big heavy steel ones? or-
They'd be, yeah, they'd be, maintenance free steel and they'd be like that rubber coated.
Okay,
Yep, there, you know, there's no maintenance, there's no rotting, none of that. I put some items in there for sewer. The sewer is kind of up in the air. I don't know where that or how that sewer utility is gonna look I don't think any of us know that. So just talking with other towns, Pine Island, Plainview, Rushford, people that I meet with at these trainings. A push camera for locating and for visually inspecting sewer lines. They say that's a must-have. Of course, a vac trailer for locating these water and sewer lines. I mean, these are future. They don't all have to be tomorrow. They're definitely in the future. I just wanna make sure we can come back to this in years to come and see where we are, see how our needs shift and confined space tools for entering manholes and work at the sewer plant and also I threw together some CIP possibilities for the fire and first responders. The first responders, replacing the ambulance or with a similar size SUV. Those emergency vehicles are expensive, 75,000 for a replacement rig.
I thought it would have been more.
So, the first responders have been talking about going away from the actual ambulance rig and going towards like a Chevy Tahoe or a Ford Explorer, 4-wheel drive, capable to haul people, personnel. But we do not transport, so we don't need that additional space for,
Mhm.
so, and it'd be easier for certain members to drive and.
I think that'd be smart, and you might even get more people that.
Yeah. And then we were possibly thinking with that, I know I put OFR on there, but combining that, making that a dual purpose, dual department, fire and first responder, so potentially it could be used for both departments. That's an option.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, from the audit, it was clear that there was initially some confusion about, because there was an ambulance, that doesn't mean we have an ambulance.
transport,
service.
right.
Right, yeah,
Right,
so if we can eliminate that and make it
Don't
clear.
refer to ambulance, yeah.
yep.
and transport vehicles.
Yeah, and then you'll see the next item, 309. We've been talking all of the fire department officers about replacing trucks and just coming up with a plan. You know, what's that number look like if we wanna start replacing some of our aging trucks and not let them get so old that we end up selling them on the local auction, you know? You know, that brush truck we sold on the auction, a new one of those right now is, $150,000. So $10,000 doesn't even, pay for the tires on the thing, so. So that's kind of just an annual expense, a number we're throwing out there. How do we budget and plan and save? You'll see right now, one of our a truck to replace would be one of our tankers. We've got an old tanker that has been costing us some repair and maintenance, really been dipping into that fund. It's kind of nickel and diming us, so to replace that truck, you're looking at 250,000, so. And then, of course, that last item, that's a skid pack for our pickup truck, and I believe we were gonna look into using some of our pull tab profits from the Relief Association for that. Just to kind of start getting everyone thinking about replacing some of those vehicles before they get outdated.
Question for you. Going back to our earlier discussion on the purchase of either a 2023 or 2024 truck under the state contract.
Yep.
You're gonna have it come with a plow, right?
Correct.
Okay,
That's my goal. That 50 is gonna cover truck and plow and toolbox,
Okay.
some tools, some miscellaneous.
Okay, so it's not just the truck, it's with accessories.
Right, I want it to be work ready
Okay.
at 50,000, correct?
Can you order a truck with the plow on it?
No,
No, okay.
no, that's
Aftermarket.
separate, it's a separate contract through the state to get that state pricing. So, Lake Crystal, Steel, they're one of them.
And then we talked about, just a reminder, we moved the 75,000 out of above down here to seal coating.
Seal coat, yep.
Yep.
Add that too.
So it doesn't change other than the correlation of numbers, but so the CIP numbers that you have, possibilities. Public Works total was 252,500 plus the 75,000 for streets. And then 4,000 for the fire department. So collectively, we have talked tonight about $1,200,000. And the split there is, as it was presented, the non-CIP items were 605. And the CIP subtotal 65.
So once again, those CIP, they're ideas, they're. The only one that is that I'm requesting for sure is the purchase of the pickup. That is one that I would like to see funded for 2023. There's other things I would like there as well, but that pickup is top of my priority list.
And then we did talk about too, some of those tables, garbage
Correct.
cans going into this year's budget.
Yep.
So that might be able to go down too.
Sure.
Yep, and I'll look into that and I'll have numbers for September's meeting.
If you had to prioritize, I mean, what would your number one, would you say like the water and sewer
Well, since
camera, or I mean, what
Since,
else?
since sewer isn't operational yet, I think, there's possibility to contract some of those services out in the beginning.
Hmm.
But someday,
Probably too, yeah.
someday we will, those items, the push camera and the vac trailer and confined space, those will be a reality of our sewer utility.
Mhm,
And of course, people to staff
mhm.
operate
That
those.
gets into our sewer utility.
And that's future, that's 3 to 5 years down the road,
Mhm.
depending on what steps we make in the year to come.
So in the past, we've kind of allocated, there's one year we went over, but typically the CIP for these kinds of projects is 100,000. And depending on what our ultimate bottom line is for the tax levy and what our rate is, we can cover all of our budget items and anything less. We did that one year where we kept our rate at the same time, but our revenues increased. We took care of the budget items and we put another $127,000 into the CIP. So we had like $226,000 for the CIP. And that kept our rate, but that's because of our tax revenue. So that'll come all out in December. Or I guess in September, we'll have an idea where we're at for sure, but the limit, but. FYI. All right.
If anyone has questions for me, please email or call or reach out. I know we covered a lot of information tonight, so.
And Sunny, you said next time we're talking about personnel. And then the one after that.
Your enterprise fund, a little bit and
So more of
Better
our
this.
individual.
your enterprise funds are those funds that should be self-supporting. Your
That-
water fund,
I was just-
Okay.
They really aren't part of our budget process. It's awareness.
right,
It
I
doesn't
want you to
affect
be
our tax.
aware of it because the indebtedness piece will.
I give up thinking.
Yes.
I have.
Sonny,
Give you-
Sure you can cover your debt
thank you for all this. Nice job.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Did you wanna speak on this? I didn't know what this is. Or is this from you?
Yeah. But this is something that, are we
Just a
done
minute.
with meeting? Should I stop the recording?
I gave your attention. A second.
This sheet here, Sunny wants to try to get things a little more organized. You guys can just fill out what you have, if you have keys, computers, whatever. And then fill it out and let me know so I can kind of keep track of all this would be very greatly appreciated. Yeah. Good idea.
And then the only other thing I have is maybe giving some thought to, with our new council member, filling in, would he automatically be assigned to the seats that, the committees that Lori served on, or do you want to talk about that at all, or? Or you?
So Lori was on the water and sewer.
Water and sewer personnel and obviously Gold Rush.
And vice mayor.
Oh, yeah, and vice mayor. Now that position really needs to be elected at a regular meeting. So, but that was, but just as a general conversation, if you wanted to have that tonight, otherwise we can wait until the meeting to. It's another housekeeping thing.
Get it done with. Then we know.
There you go.
Gold Rush. Water and sewer and personnel.
Yes.
The, I think we should hold that for a separate meeting,
Okay.
because it's been 2.5 hours now.
Of fun, 2.5 hours of fun. Right?
Thank you. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Are we doing these, are we doing those at the council meeting?
We'll
Special.
put that on the council agenda.
Okay.
I didn't find mine, I just put down Chromebook.
Yeah. I was
And that's what I did, and so at least, you know, it's Chromebook and
Doesn't have
trying
a-
to